I am Sean Webb, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Rock Goddess, and I am rolling with Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Dave Meltzer, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Zach Poitras, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome back. I'm Trey Downs, and this is Your Superior Self. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with me today. Thank you for downloading. Please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast from. It helps me scale the show out to those who may need it the most. Today, I'm very blessed to have on the show Lorenzo Marion, who is a psychic medium and spiritual teacher. We have an incredible, beautiful conversation about Lorenzo's journey, about what his mission is here on this earth, and the things that he wants others to hear, which is spread love. And that message could not be more important than it is right now in the times that we live in. I think a lot of it is we're allowing our egos to take a hold of our ideas of self, and that we're projecting our egos on other people, and other people are very sensitive to that. There's a lot of bad energy out there, and we need to realize that. We need to realize that we are not our egos, and that we are something that is higher than what we are right now. We are forms of beautiful energy, and the idea that we have to hate one another because of one's belief or beliefs is just incredibly inaccurate. We all are a part of the higher picture, the grand scheme of things, and I think we're all blind to that now because we are allowing our egos to take a hold of our visions, and we're thinking that we are our egos, and we're becoming more sensitive to people's ideas of self and their projections of their beliefs on us. And we think that, oh, I'm not going to believe in that, or I'm not going to allow that person to say this or that or whatever. I'm going to fight for what I believe in. And what you're fighting is yourself in the end. We're all fighting ourselves. And some people might not want to hear that, and they might not be able to relate themselves to the other person. But at the end of the day, we all are connected. We all are the same. Maybe not on the outside, but on the inside, we're all connected to a higher power that is the same, and there's nothing but love. And I think that everyone needs to hear that message. And another thing that you need to hear is a preview of my discussion with Lorenzo.
Because I was like the little boy in Sixth Sense. I didn't have a choice. I didn't say, I don't want to see anything. They were there and I had to deal with it. But there are ways to open up your third eye, to open your crown chakra. Now, let me just tell you this. This is a good analogy. Everyone is psychic, but not everybody can be a psychic.
Oh, yeah, buddy. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. And for those who are kind of like, what is going on? All I ask is that you keep an open mind. All I ask is that you stay curious and follow the conversation all the way to the end, because it will possibly awaken you to a different type of thought process. And that's all we're here to do, is help each other grow and evolve and become more aware and realize that we are in different states of consciousness all the time, and that we experience life differently. And maybe it might help you realize the programming that we've experienced our entire lives, and that no fault of our own. It's just life. We've always believed in what society has said. We've always believed what our family and friends have said to us. It's time to question that, or it's time to research different thought processes. It's time to look at the entire picture, and it's okay to say, I want to learn something different. I want to take a different look at the same picture. I want to change my perspective on life. I want to change my perspective of the world. I want to experience more love. And it's perfectly fine to say. It is perfectly fine to do. It's perfectly fine to pursue that mission. And that is why I do the podcast. Yeah, buddy. I do the podcast because I want to pursue that greater knowledge. I want to pursue that greater development. I want to pursue, I want to feel that greatness that is inside of myself, that I experience that when I know that I'm aligned with my path. And I know that you guys do too. It's just getting through that noise that is always beating you down and making you question your path. This is the reason why we need reminders from people like Lorenzo, like myself, like all of the guests that I've had on this podcast to remind you that you are this powerful being, that you need to stop listening to other people tell you your business. Trust yourself, trust that instinct, trust your heart, and move forward every day. Yeah. I can't end it any better than that, guys. Go to traydowns.com, find out more about me over there. Leave me a message. Let me know what you guys are up to. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts about this episode and past episodes. I want to know what you're doing in your lives to help you expand your awareness, help you expand your journey, help you expand the way. Follow me on Instagram, tdowns80. You can see some of the stuff, some of the behind the scenes stuff that I have going on over there with the show, and in my personal journey. I share it with very select few. So if you're part of that select few, feel honored for sure. So without further ado, beautiful people, here is my conversation with the great and powerful Lorenzo Marion.
My name is Lorenzo Marion. I'm a spiritual psychic medium, and I'm here with your superior self.
Lorenzo, I want to say thank you for taking the time. This is truly an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to have you on the show because my friend Marion wrote a book. It's called The Gift Within Us, and your profile is in here. And you are a psychic, and your story is in this book. And
yes.
I highly suggest everybody go out and get it. You have a podcast, you have a radio show. You're well known in Florida. However, in Baltimore, we need to hear more about you. So that's why I wanted to have you on.
I have clients in Baltimore.
Do you really?
Yeah, I have clients everywhere.
Well, I mean,
but I have them in Baltimore too. I'm glad you have me on your radio show this way.
Man.
Like you said, people could know more of me.
I wanted to push you out a little bit. I mean,
I appreciate
truly
that.
Remarkable. I've been fanboying over you the entire time. I mean, because like we talked about it before, I like, just being transparent. I'm really getting into the higher consciousness and just kind of knowing myself and the source that we all are. And this awakening that everyone, well, not everyone, but some of us are experiencing right now. It seems like you're the first person that I came across that is diverse. You are the minority as far as the first psychic that I've ever met that is, I think your father was African-American, right?
Correct.
And your mother was Caucasian?
Sicilian, yeah.
Sicilian?
Of course, yeah.
You're the first person that I've met that is diverse. Everyone seems to be a white guy or a white woman. And I wanted to have you on the show because I wanted to get your take on that. Like, why do you think it is that? Like, why do you think there's such a lopsided view? Or not lopsided view, but...
I can only tell you this from being biracial. In the African-American community, we do have a lot of Jehovah's Witness and we have a lot of Baptists. But that doesn't mean they're not psychic and spiritual. I have found, because I did my family tree on my dad's side, that back in the 17 to 1800s, there were more people of color that were spiritualists. I'm not going to say they were the original ones, but they were more on the forefront than they are now. So just because we don't see them actively working, they're still there. It's just that we're being shown, let's say, people who are Caucasian, like you were saying, on TV. But it's definitely, there's no doubt about that. There are more people who of the white race versus even Spanish and African American in this field.
Yeah, it's so I'm Catholic. You see a lot more Spanish heritage in the Catholic religion.
Yes.
You see, like you said, African American population, a lot of Baptists, a lot of Methodists. And then when it was like when I started researching past life regressions, near-death experiences, psychic abilities, mediums, it was just a lot of white people. I'm like, man, this is kind of lopsided. Like, what is up with this?
Yeah.
And then I read your story, and I was like, I gotta talk to this dude. Not because, well, one, your story, right? Like you've been able to do this since you were a little kid. Like you walked in, I think, on your dad having a conversation, or was it you saw your grandmother?
With his mother? Yes, I was 6 years old. I remember it as clear as day. I wrote it on my website and in my book. As a curious kid, I was very curious, very nosy, as most kids are. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard my dad talking, but I didn't hear my mother speak with him. They were sleeping together. So I crept down the hallway and their bedroom door was open slightly. And as I opened the door, my mother was sound asleep. My father was there on the other side of the bed, looking at his mother sitting in this rocking chair, talking to her. And she was passed probably about 25 years. And he always could see his mother. I see her as clear as day. And they both looked at me and I thought I was in trouble. And she was in a golden white light. And I kind of just crept back and I closed the door. The next day, my father discussed it with me. Very casually, we were making lunch and he says, you could see spirit like me. You've seen grandma last night and it's nothing to be afraid of. Now pass me the mustard. And that was it. Thank God I wasn't born into a family, because I believe in past lives. I've done past life regression before. I've had past life recall. Some people are born into families that will put you in a psych ward. And my abilities have been tested numerous times. And people walk away and go, he's very outgoing. He's very smart, very intelligent, but he has this paranormal ability that we can't put our hand on it. So I just went with it as a kid. But, I wanted to have that quote unquote normalcy of being a kid, being a boy, climbing trees, playing with my friends. But I was always so visual. I would see spirit all the time. I would hear voices. I would know who was at the door before they knocked. I would know who was calling. It was but see, I got to tell you this. Children and animals are the most psychic beings on the planet. So as a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, it wasn't abnormal until I started to talk more openly about it when I was in elementary school. And people would say to me, extended family members and friends, and go, I don't see anybody, or I don't hear what you're hearing. Then I knew I was different. And then I started to suppress it. When I got into middle school, I said, okay, I got something that I don't see anybody else has.
Were you able to talk to anybody about that, though?
Oh, yeah. I talked to my parents. My mother's sister, she was huge into psychics. And she had a near-death experience in 1983. She was going through cancer treatment and she left her body. So she really was aware of who I was. But I fought against it because I didn't want to be this. Because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I said, am I going to be hearing voices all my life? But then when I got into high school, I transferred schools and went into another high school, because the school I was at, I was in Westbury, Long Island. It was a very bad area, bad school. So I went to this new high school and I just said, I hope no one knows I'm psychic. Not that I was afraid of anything. I was very popular in school. I was into everything. Friends with all different people, all different races, groups. But I just wanted to be a teenager, if you get that, So I was staying at a friend's house one night it was a group of us. It was like 3 or 4 of my friends. And I just blurted out to my friend that his parents were divorced and they're not going to get back together. And your dad has a girlfriend. And I just went at it. And he looked at me. His face turned pale white. He goes, "What? How did you know that?" I says, "Oh, it was a lucky guess." And I finally told him, I says, "This is a gift." He told the whole high school, and all the teachers found out. Thank God it wasn't an issue. People were excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
you said you're clairvoyant, right? Like, and I want people to understand, right? So it's like, can you kind of describe or explain the difference between a medium, a psychic, or a clairvoyant? Either or.
A clairvoyant is able to see out of the range of distance. So what we can do, my third eye, I was born, my third eye is wide open. I don't have to do any meditations, and I teach people how to, open up, but I can see, let's say hypothetically, who you'll marry, just hypothetically, what job you'll land. I'll be able to visually see the job, the person, in living color. Sometimes it's not as clear, but for the majority of the time it is. So in other words, if I'm doing a reading, I'll say to someone over the phone, because 90% of my readings are over the phone, believe it or not, because I have clients all over the world.
Sure.
I'll say, who is that tall, dark colored hair, big brown eyes gentleman around you? So that's my husband. I'm able to visually see that. And then I'm a medium as well. So people who's crossed over, I could accurately describe their loved ones. And then of course I get your validation. Mm-hmm. I got your mother here, and I'm not, and it's not to make fun of anybody, but there have been, I don't know if there is now, people who, because I do big seminars too, and I do live readings. You get a ticket at the door, and if I call your number, you can ask me one question. I don't go around in a room of 500 people go, "Does anybody have an Uncle George who died?" Someone, and I'm not making fun of anybody, but how vague is that?
Yeah.
You stand up and ask me a question. I want to know, is my daughter going to marry so-and-so? And I'm a fast food psychic. I go, no, quick. Mm-hmm. Or so I'm more of a visual. I'll get into the details, but I like that I'm more of a visual because it's more accurate.
Sure.
Because we don't all look the same.
Yeah. But you are very popular. You have your own radio show on iHeartRadio, right?
I had my own radio show on iHeartRadio in 2016 while I was doing my own podcast on Blog Talk Radio. It's blogtalkradio.com. Now it's big. When I started in 2009, it wasn't that big, but it's taken off.
Yeah, but 2009, like that's like early on in the podcast realm. Like you're like an old school podcaster, dude. Sorry, Lorenzo.
I'm old school. I know I don't, a lot of people meet me. They're like, "How are you 40? You look like a little kid." I think it has to do with the work. I'm in high vibrational work all day.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm in that God conscious energy. I was a school teacher. I did study education. I worked with preschool kids, elementary, getting out of high school. So I was always gravitated towards children. Because
are you doing what you love right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is the thing. If you don't have passion for what you do, if you lose passion, change careers immediately. The moment I lose passion for what I do, because I love helping people, even though half of them drive me crazy. And it's the truth. Because I'm a psychologist too over the phone with people. I mean, I get into all your life, personal stuff. The moment I lose passion for what I do as a psychic medium, I will immediately stop doing it.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of people out there just doing things just to get by. Mm-hmm. And if passion's not all over your energy, people will be repelled.
Yeah, no, I think that, like, I'm just learning about that. Like, I didn't know, like, what that was, like, I didn't know that. I didn't know what vibration was. I didn't know what frequency was. It was like, I felt this burning in my heart, like, area when I started learning about things that I was curious about. I had no clue what that was. Like, I didn't know. And it wasn't until I started reading more of the mystical books, the more of the, The Gift Within Us by Marion that I started being more curious and more like just in love with the subjects, right? Like, and that's when
Yes.
I realized what the vibration is. Like when you feel when you are aligned with what you're doing, like that music that is inside of you, when you are doing that, like your body is just vibrating. Like
Yeah. I get an adrenaline rush. I'll do a lecture in front of 300-400 people. You get the ticket. I only do the ticket at the door because when I started in New York in the early 90s, I would have over 500 people in the audience. I would do a spiritual subject. Let's say I'm talking about angels.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I would say, anybody have any questions, everybody would raise their hand. I would be there all night trying to answer the questions. So you get a ticket at the door, and I do like a lot of lottery ticket thing. I mix it up in a bowl, and then you could ask me one question. I come home, my adrenaline is going.
Sure.
So here's the thing. A lot of people say, do I get tired? No. After I do all my readings, I'm on a high for 2 hours. And I thank God for this every day. And then I come down very slowly. So, but there's another reason, because I train a lot of because now everybody's psychic. On YouTube, I'm psychic. Have a reading by me, but you have your own free will. So what the hell am I coming to you for? You see what I mean? And we have a chart that is preordained. If you're meant to get married and your wife is supposed to have twins, she will. We don't smudge that. Destiny is not smudged. What we will be affected by is our thoughts and how we are dealing with the situation. So I always say,
I love that.
I always say, no psychic is 100%, only God's all knowing, but you better be more right than wrong. Because I'm telling you, I have these up and coming psychics in their 20s. My niece is 24, my sister's first daughter, she's psychic. She doesn't do the work, but she was born with it. And I have, as I travel around, people say, I heard a lot about you, can you teach me how to protect myself? That's why I don't get drained so much. I have my psychic protection up, the white light of the Holy Spirit. I do my prayer, meditation. I make sure if I'm doing a reading, I'm not merging too much with your energy. You have to master your craft.
Sure.
That's why people get sick quickly. When I was starting in New York in 1996, psychics were dropping like flies. They were having stomach ulcers, sick because they were leaving themselves so open and they were absorbing the negative energy, let's say, from a client. So
what's so crazy that you say that is that I just started learning about that. Like people, like when you talk to somebody, let's just say for an example, you're talking to somebody at work and they're like just filling you in on all the negative stuff. Like that is affecting your energy. Like that is just
absolutely
because like sometimes it like you want to be you want to show empathy towards them, but sometimes it crushes you and it just leaves you in a bad mood. Like when you talk to somebody who's just been affected by something very negative, like when you feel down too, it's like their energy is pushed onto you.
Yeah. And energy doesn't lie either. How many times somebody walks in a room and that person's naturally negative and you're at a dinner party, they walk in a room and the whole energy just drops.
Sure.
Then let's say Sarah comes in, she's the life of the party and the energy just rises. Mm-hmm. We don't always have to have a visual thing. You can feel it. That's where we coin these words. I'm in a dark mood. I'm in a blue mood. I feel bright. My spirits, we're talking in code. So what I do is I surround myself with like this beam of white light. Then in my mind's eye, I surround myself with a circle of mirrors reflected outward, taller than I am. And I believe in a mother and father God, but we'll get into that another time. So I say, because there has to be male and female. We're comprised of male and female.
That's interesting. I've never heard that concept. I've never heard that.
Because there's a feminine principle into the Godhead. What were women created out of? Adam's left rib. Mm-hmm. God has to have a feminine principle. If we were created in the image and likeness of God, then we have the duality in creation, the male and female. So I say mother, father, God for me. And now most people are not thinking that's effeminate. They're like, yeah, that can be. You go to any other country and they'll say, yeah, the Egyptians said Isis. The Hispanic culture used to call her, not used to, they still do. They call her Lady Guadalupe.
Mm.
Think about it. So it's a theory to it. But anyway, I say, God, anyone who is negative that comes up and reflects itself in my mirrors today, I don't want them to stay. Anyone who is positive or loving, you know, I go through the whole thing, that reflects themselves in my mirrors today, I want them to stay. And I end with, and I want to be a reflection of love, light, and goodness. I've told clients that, people that they go, oh my God, my boss is off my case. Mm-hmm. Or now this person doesn't bother me anymore, because negativity cannot stand to look at itself in its own eyes. So it will repel it. Those mirrors, it's like the old Dracula effect, and it works wonders. You should try it.
No, for sure. I am.
I feel energy all the time, but I don't let it affect me. I don't let it get to me. I could feel it because I'm an empath too.
Can you feel energy like when your clients are on the phone? Can you feel their energy?
Oh yeah.
Really?
But what I'm doing is I'm reading their chart on the other side. So let's say I have a client who's, there's a I'm my spirit guide, which we all have guides. I know I'm jumping around here.
No, you're good.
Because these are hot topics, right? My spirit guide used to tell me you want to be more sympathetic than empathetic. Because when we empathize too much with people, we naturally are absorbing. We're merging in them. Mm-hmm. We're not supposed to be doing that. You can do that if you want to be a martyr. I don't want to do that.
No.
Because I have my own energy. You know, I have my own energy. Why do I want all of you? If you have good energy, I'll merge with that. But I'm not merging into the victim and all that. So when I do readings, I'm sympathetic. If I have a client in front of me bawling her eyes out because her son was murdered or committed suicide, that's touching. That's traumatic. But I have to make sure I don't empathize too much, because if I do, then I'm going to lose track of the reading. Then we're both going to be crying, and the reading's over. You see what I'm going with that?
No,
so
absolutely.
You have to have that boundary.
So you said a lot of things that just fire me up. I think that all of us can at least channel that higher self, right? If we get into a meditative state, we can at least hear them, I think.
Absolutely.
Right? I think I've been doing a lot of meditation lately. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, probably last week. And I feel like I'm hearing a voice that is higher than myself, that is not me,
right?
That is directing me.
Yeah, that's your spirit guide.
And he's given me a name, and I don't know if it's true or not, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me, because it's like, it's not crazy, I guess. It's like, it's powerful. It's something different.
No, our guide stands to the right of us. The spirit guide is never a loved one who's passed. It's not mom or Uncle Joe who passed. It's an entity who lived a life like we do. Mm-hmm. And we were let's say we're on the other side and we're very good friends. And I'm going down into life. I wrote my chart. They study a long time. There's no time on the other side, but let's say many years to be a guide. They memorize our chart. They stand to the right of us and they guide us. So we have our guide. Some have one, some have two. I've never seen anybody with more than three. We have our angels that we handpick. So the guide is that voice that says, buckle your seatbelt. And you find out that if you didn't buckle your seatbelt, you look back and you go, oh, my seatbelt's on. You would have been in an accident and you would have went through the windshield. Or I wouldn't get involved with that person. You know, we say it's our gut, which we do have our own, gut feelings and intuition. A lot of that is your guide. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to give you, I always joke around, they're not going to give you a lot of numbers.
Who's your guide? Who's your guide? Like, who is your guide?
I have two guides, but my primary guide that I hear all the time, and I used to go into trance with my guide, like in the 1800s, the deep trance. He was a a Native American Indian in his last incarnation
Really?
in 1512 in the southeastern part of the United States, and his name is Gerard. I've had other psychics walk up to me and tap me on the shoulder and goes, "Who is that man? Who is that tall Native American Indian walking with you?" I said, "Oh, that's my spirit guide." And I can see him and hear him just like you can see, but it's not saying, "Oh, look at me, I can." Everybody has their own way of communicating with their guide.
Sure.
Some are more visual, some are more audible. But you ever have that ringing in your ear?
Yeah.
You don't always have to go run to the doctor. 9 times out of 10, that's when the spirit on the other side is tapping in, because we vibrate at a higher vibrational frequency.
So
that's
you
why
talk.
they're more high pitched.
Yeah, you talked about earlier the third eye, like I think that has a lot to do with it, right? Like I think your third eye is like that like, so I'm reading a lot of
the pituitary. You got the pineal and the pituitary.
the
I was
pineal
born
gland.
with an overdeveloped pituitary and pineal gland. It's not just me, there's billions of people around the world,
Sure.
but there are exercises to open the third eye, but what closes it is fear. People go, "How come you can see my mother who passed and I can't?" Because if she shakes your bed at the middle of the night and say, "Hi, Susie," you're going to go, "Ah." They go, "No, I'm not." I go, "Okay." Because I was like the little boy in Sixth Sense. I didn't have a choice. I didn't say, "I don't want to see anything." They were there and I had to deal with it. But there are ways to open up your third eye, to open your crown chakra. Now, let me just tell you this. This is a good analogy. Everyone is psychic, but not everybody can be a psychic. Not everybody's going to be able to sell out at Carnegie Hall. Not everybody's going to be able to take it to the next level and give random readings to countless strangers. Just like I can do this work, but I'm not an NBA player. I can train, but I may not be too good because that's not my craft.
Sure,
That's not
sure.
my ability. But we all have it within us. We all have it within us.
Well, how do you train that, right? Like, let's say I don't want, like, let's say I am a regular guy. Like, I want to be able
Me
to
too.
tap it. You're just like, but you have that sense, right? You have that sixth sense. But I want to be able to tap in like every now and then, and I just
Yeah,
want
you
to,
can.
maybe some advice, right? Like, but how do I? What can you give me? Like,
Prayer, meditation, and strangely enough, being in nature. Because nature, I love nature. It's very high vibration. How many times, let's say we'll get in an argument with somebody in the house, and we grab our keys and go, "I'm going for a walk," and we feel better when we come back in the house. Not because we're blowing off steam, it's because we're in a high vibrational frequency of outdoors. Meditate. Prayer is asking, meditation is listening. So people go, "How come you don't teach a lot of psychic development classes?" Because it would be so quick. Take your first impression and your first thought. We're trained that our first impression of someone or a situation is judgment. No, that's God. That's valid. How many times you could have kicked yourself down the screen and say, "Damn it, I knew I should have never signed that business contract. My gut was saying no." It's like a psychic muscle, like when you go to the gym. Because I know a lot of personal trainers. Muscle has memory. The more you trust your intuition or your gut, whatever you want to say, the psychic muscle gets stronger. So the more you trust, the more psychic infusion comes in. I've had people negate me plenty of times over the phone. "Oh, no. Me and my husband are high school sweethearts, will always be together." Well, ma'am, I don't see that happening. And then I'll proceed with the reading. And then down the line, they say, "We did get." See, if we let people always negate us, we'll doubt it. So if you're looking for a word of advice, trust your gut. Go into meditation. Listen. Don't do too much talking. Listen. Or like I used to have my group visualize going to the beach or a park, asking your guides to come out of the shadows and putting that white light around you. It's a psychic muscle. The more you use it, if you don't use it that much, you lose it.
You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, your mind too.
No, for sure. Like,
yeah,
that's 100%.
just trust and
That's 100%.
dreams. Let me tell you something. I've taught in so many, that's not even a word, but we'll skip over that. I have taught so many dream classes because people go, "I don't dream." I go, "What are you, an alien?" Everyone dreams. It's just that people go through, they go down in a deeper delta state, so they don't recall it. So I say, ask God or spirit or whatever, because everybody's, we say spirit or universe, whatever, a higher power. Help me to retain conscious memory of any dreams, because we astral project too. We visit the other side. Then what you're going to do is, not a lot of people have alarm clocks. I still do. Set your cell phone or alarm clock 10, 15 minutes before you're originally supposed to get out of bed. Lay in bed, because when we first open our eyes, we're still in the subconscious, and you'll start to retain memories of what you've been. I'm giving you a lot of tools. I hope you're writing this down.
Let me tell you something. I don't know about everybody else, but I have the advantage of being able to listen to this. So I'm going to be able to listen to this 100 times. So
good.
We're recording this.
And and I want to just plug my website. It's LorenzoMarion.com. Everything you need to know is on there.
I've looked at it. It's legit.
People put an S in my name.
Wow.
So my radio show, I have to do a disclaimer. I go, it's Lorenzo, not Lorenso.
But you have affirmation cards too, right?
Yes, I just released my first affirmation card deck called Golden Wisdom. I handpicked all the images. I channeled all the affirmations. They're mine, no one else's.
How important are affirmations?
Oh, very powerful, because we have a choice when we wake up. Do you want to be happy or you want to be miserable? Do you want to look at this, your house going into foreclosure? Is that going to be a nightmare to you? Or are you going to say, maybe this is a blessing in disguise? Even though our chart is preordained, how positive and negative we are is going to affect us.
Sure.
And I'd rather be happy than think that the world is always caving down on me.
Mm-hmm.
So when we affirm, we lift our vibration and we come more in sync and in alignment with our written script, instead of griping all the time about what everybody else has. So I made 54 because I'm big into numerology. So 54 is a 9, and 9 is completion.
Where do you want to go? Like, what's your mission? Like, what in life, right? Like, you love helping people, but what is your ultimate goal?
I want to empower people. That's my main mission. I'm not the type of psychic that says, call me for a reading. People find me if they want a reading. But that's why I teach classes, because I want to be able to guide you, if you allow me to, because it's your choice if you want to come to a reader. But it's also written in your chart too, that you're going to come to someone like me. So I want to empower people to trust their gut, their intuition, to know that they are loved by God. I want to get rid of this mean, hateful, vengeful God. Because I was brought up in a Southern Baptist Roman Catholic home. I don't know how I'm not even half crazy. And it's not disrespecting a faith, because I studied religion before. I read all 26 versions of the Bible. So when people try to corner me as a psychic, I go, what verse do you want to talk about? And they sit back. So I'm not trying to be a smarty pants, but I love theology. I wanted to be a social studies teacher before. I want to get rid of this mean, hateful God, because God is all loving, all perfect, omnipotent, all forgiving. Religion is taught in damnation and fear. That's all humanized. So I want to wipe away that, let people know that they're loved, and I want to empower people to be true and authentic to their mission.
Have you been in God's presence? Like, have you?
Oh, I had a near-death experience in 2012. Oh,
really?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
What was the near-death?
Huh?
What happened with the near-death experience?
Well, I could only give you a glimpse because we can't talk for 20 hours now. It was back in 2012. I've always had, excuse me, out-of-body experiences. So I'm not foreign to being out of my body. But this was really full-blown. I was actually home. I was home by myself. I just wasn't feeling well. I'm laying in bed. I'm tossing and turning, and I'm going, what is wrong with me? And as soon as I said that, I grew up in New York, so I know the snowsuits have the buttons that pop open, those old-fashioned ones. I was out of my body. As soon as I levitated out of my body, my father, who's passed, came. I seen him right through the ceiling. He grabbed my hand, and we went through that tunnel, because there really is a tunnel. It comes out of our own etheric substance right below the breastbone, solar plexus. And I have his hand, and we're looking at each other eye to eye, going right through that tunnel. And I knew I was going home, because that's our real home, not here, thank God. So that's when I used to do death and dying. I'm going to get back to the story, but people go in the nursing homes or hospice, I want to go home. They're not talking about Boston or Michigan. They're talking about heaven, God. And I got to the other side, and the first person I seen was my father's mother, who was a psychic. And it was in a big courtyard, and she was sitting at one of the benches with her legs crossed. And before I could blink, she was in front of me, and she embraced me. And then I seen other loved ones, because we get a life review, we get a reunion. It's a whole thing we go through. And I looked over to the right, and I says, oh, where's my dad? I said, I guess things never change, just disappears again. And I was being, I'm a comedian too.
Yeah.
I was being gravitationally pulled gently. This force was pulling me. So I was hugging my loved ones, and they started to back away from me. So I'm going, okay, maybe I'll see them later. And I'm being pulled in a direction where I'm walking. I feel like someone's pulling me towards them. Very loving presence. And I walk down this cobblestone, and I know some people go, oh, was this a dream or fantasy? Speak to these people who are going for brain surgery, any type of surgery, and they're describing what the doctors did. So try to explain that. When I turned around the corner, I seen Jesus. I seen our Lord. And I had experiences with him before, and it's not religion. People go, oh, Jesus is just, no. Why do we say the Buddhists only believed in, Buddha? And it's not. We see everybody there, Buddha, everyone. So I'm standing in front of him. He's about 11 feet in front of me. And his aura is pink and gold. Mm. Pink is the color of love back home, not red. Gold is the Christ consciousness. So if you really want to get into your higher consciousness, wrap yourself in the gold light, and silver, because silver is God's memory. It was just this loving force, and he had his palms facing upward. Now, he spoke with me telepathically, and he said, put your hands in my hands. And I did, and we merged. Ooh. I felt his energy. I felt his history. He felt my history. He felt my pain. I felt his sorrow. It was explosive. And I was in a rapture I was just so loved, just as I am. That's why it aggravates me when these religionistic people say, well, the only way to God is through Jesus. What about the people in Africa or South America who never met the man? They don't get to go to heaven?
Yeah.
And he told me I had to come back. Now, I felt like I had a choice. But he says, you need to come back. There's still a lot you have to do. I don't want you to come here prematurely.
Sure.
So we went back and forth because I didn't want to come. I mean, there's more to it. I wrote about it in my book. My books 3 years ago were pulled back because there was issues with my publishing company and blah, blah, blah. So they're in the process of being republished.
What's the title?
Here.
I'm getting one, right?
Journey Through a Psychic's Eyes and Messages Beyond the Grave. They're going to be republished because my publishing company was from Maryland. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no. Let's not talk about Maryland.
And so the last 3 years, people couldn't have access to my books. And just give you a little visual here. Okay. But my first book was published in 2010, A Journey Through a Psychic's Eyes. But I wrote that near-death experience in Messages Beyond the Grave.
That's so powerful. I couldn't even imagine,
You could talk to me for hours, right?
Yes. I couldn't even imagine, coming 11 feet away from Jesus Christ. Could you draw his face right now if you could?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. See, but what he does is, we can split our essence in two. We could be in two places at one time in spirit. Our Lord can be in a billion places at one time without losing his essence. So that's when you see a lot of people say, oh, I seen Jesus.
Mhm.
And then 300 other people said, I see him, Jesus. Now his eyes, now he looks very Arabic looking. He's not white skin. He's more olive skin, big brown eyes, shoulder length hair with a little beard, not a little beard, but somewhat of a beard. But he will appear as he'll change his eye color to hazel or blue for people who recognize him like that.
What about Mother Mary? Like,
Oh, she's there.
yeah.
See, if we want to get into history, I believe, because I got a lot of information from the other side, but historically, it's already been proven that our Lord was married. But see, Catholicism doesn't want to tell you that.
Nah, so
Mary Magdalene,
yeah.
they were married. And even the apostles, because scriptures that were hidden in the Vatican are, coming up,
Sure.
they were jealous of her. Because they're like, oh, he's always kissing and hugging her. She was an apostle. It enraged me, because my mother was Roman Catholic, how they perceived her to be this woman on the street, if you will. And she wasn't. They did that because they felt like if they told us Jesus was married, it would make him less holy. And that's ridiculous.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, he was in human form, and he was doing what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make him unholy.
Yeah.
It's in the bloodline in France, because he had children.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the blood.
I just thought that was a movie with Tom Hanks. I didn't think that was like real.
It's coming out more and more. With all this stuff going on in the world, you're going to see more stuff coming. See, when I used to go into trance with my spirit guide, and I had 2 doctors and 2 nurses in there,
mm-hmm.
and they said this guy couldn't make this up if he tried. Because I would go into, trance with my guy. But that's people could Google that. You Google everything. But I always say, take what you want, leave the rest behind. Is our Lord coming back? No.
I think that the Lord coming back is us awakening to the love that's in our heart.
Exactly. We'll have an Antichrist, though.
You think
we will have an Antichrist coming in another decade. It's not who we see now.
Let's say he's in office.
It's not who we see now, but a lot of this information has been documented through, remember the cassette tapes?
Yeah.
I've been talking about this for 18 years.
So what do you think the Antichrist will do, though?
He's going to look like our Lord. It's almost like Jim Jones and Hitler. People are so anxious and eager for the second coming of Jesus to save them. Nobody's saving anybody. Nobody's perfect. Just make sure you're doing the right thing. And if you screw up in life, that's your own karma. God is not going to band you to this imaginary hell. We're in it.
So
Earth
do you believe
Earth, do you believe that there is obviously there's no devil.
There's no, well, what about the Antichrist? Like you just said the Antichrist. Like what is that?
Yeah, that would be someone putting on a robe and like Jim Jones and Hitler and Charles Manson getting a cult together. Sure. That's an Antichrist. I am the Lord, drink Kool-Aid and put on Nike sneakers and we're going to go to Pluto tonight. And we go, oh, okay. We're in the Great Awakening right now. Mm-hmm. We are in the age of Aquarius. That's why everybody's fighting, because people are awakening too. Truth is coming out. It always gets bad before it gets better. So, but no, our Lord does not he only needed one time to come down.
Yeah. No, I think that the awakening
come here and
inside,
say what,
Yeah. I feel like the awakening inside of us.
Absolutely.
So
it's happening.
People think that we're separate from God. No. Right? Like we're created in his image. We're connected, right? We're that same source that is inside of us. It's the same being, that same source of God, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do agree, but I have to interject because we have these quote unquote new age people who go, God is just within me, not without. But let me explain, and it's not to make fun of anything. We are part of the best genetics of God. We're never separated from God because our spirit is our natural form. So the temple of God is within us, but God is also without us too. That doesn't make us separate. He's within and without, because there is a Father God and a Mother God. And we'll all see it when we get there.
So what are we in your idea? Like what are we? We are children of God. We are
absolutely. We were created in the Godhead. We've always been.
Yeah.
We've always been.
So like, in
Always
going
been.
back to what we were talking about earlier, like we cannot, like you don't believe that we can create our reality, but can we attract things, right? Like, so there's a lot
absolutely.
of, there's
Yeah,
a lot of law of attraction stuff out there.
Absolutely.
So like, let's say if I wanted to change, like you said, thoughts are a big thing, right? Like you have the affirmation deck, which is going to help you change your thought patterns. Can I attract more positivity to my life? Can I attract more wealth? Can I attract more abundance? Can I attract more health?
Yeah, absolutely, to a certain extent. But if you're not meant to win the lotto, you can't materialize that. You see where I'm going with that?
Sure.
Because people are charted to win the lotto. But you could definitely, we have miracles and we have divine intervention. There are so many people who have lived longer from a terminal illness based on their positive outlook versus someone who says, I'm throwing in the towel.
Well, let me ask you this, Lorenzo. Let's say that you decided that you wanted to be well known, more than you are now, right? But you have a lot of things going on for you. Let's say you get up every morning, you have affirmations, which I'm sure you do. Let's say you're working towards that and you put in work, and can you attract that popularity, that growth into your life?
Yeah, only if it's a means to myself. In other words, everything that we want from a higher perspective is already in our destiny. So we're just once we get in alignment with it, like someone will say, oh, I want to go to Puerto Rico. Then every person they talk to is talking about Puerto Rico. You see,
know what's weird? That shit happens all the time. Like I'll sit there and I'll think about a car or
that's
something.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
That's synchronicity.
Does that mean that I'm going to get that car though? You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. See, you wouldn't always fantasize about having a house if it wasn't predestined. So you're in alignment with your chart. But if I'm not meant to win the lotto, I can do every dance, every whatever. I could pray, I could scream. If I'm not meant to win $100,000, I'm not going to win it.
Do you have any like clients that have done this, like have brought forth like some abundant success in their lives by just changing their frequency and changing their affirmations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you give me an example? Not like no names, just like one example that stands out.
I mean, there's so many, but
just for the people listening right now.
We could bring about, I've known a client of mine who was told that she wouldn't be able to walk again. And she kept using her positive affirmations. I'm going to walk. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up and be able to go back to work, because she was so outgoing, and she did. And she willed herself to do that. She pushed herself to do that. But when we get into this altered reality that I am creating this, we're actually coming in we're coming in alignment with our chart. Because like I said earlier on, if someone is meant to be an Olympic gold medalist, they will. That's part of it. Just like we have people on television who are singers. They didn't think that into reality. They were destined to be a global star. But we can pull things towards us as far as greater health and mental clarity. And that's where affirmations help.
Well, how does Lorenzo Marion be the most famous psychic in the world?
Just by being my true, authentic self. As long as I'm being true to myself, I'm in alignment and everything comes faster towards me.
I love that.
How's that?
I love that. Dude, that's powerful,
You didn't think you were going to get that one.
That was probably the most powerful thing you said the entire night. Besides,
thanks. So everything I said before, let's throw it out the window.
No, that's not.
But I do affirmations every day. They empower me. They keep me positive and motivated. And
what's the most powerful affirmation? Like, what is the one that people must say to themselves every freaking day?
I love myself unconditionally.
Why is that?
Because if we don't love ourselves unconditionally, people will treat us in a very negative way. They could just feel the energy. If you always feel like you're not worthy, your dad didn't love you, mother didn't love you, you will draw people towards you to reflect back what you feel inside of you.
I love that. You know why? Because like we can only love as much as we have inside of us. Like you can't love more than what you have. But if you can create more love for yourself, and I'm talking about loving the spaces inside of you that are dark and that you don't want to love.
The shadow self.
The shadow self. You got to love the shadow self just as much as you love the good self, the bright self, the light self.
And loving yourself is not shallow. It's respecting yourself and being authentic. There's a difference between vanity and loving yourself on a soul level.
Lorenzo, this has been amazing. Why do we forget though? That's another thing too, right? Like you talk about, we have these preset lives, right? Like we have all these lives. You and I have discussed this already. We've had a pre-call and we talked for like an hour about past life. Why do we forget though when we're here right now?
Because it would keep us from learning what we're supposed to learn in this lifetime.
Yeah.
If we remembered all of our past lives and all of our lives back home, we would all self-destruct.
No.
We would all grab hands and jump off the nearest bridge. That's why we don't remember it all.
How many lives do you think that you've lived?
This is my 54th and last.
How do you sit there and say 54, like exact? Like 54.
This is your 38th and last.
Are you serious?
Yeah. You were in the Amish country in your last lifetime.
Oh, God.
You were in the early 1500s.
38. This is my 38th.
Yeah, nobody, and we'll leave on this note. Nobody has lived 1,000 lives. Nobody's came back 1,000 times.
What's the most?
About 98.
Really? I was in the Amish country. That explains a lot. You know what I mean? Like, because my dog is from
We can talk
Amish.
about that too off the air.
Sure.
Yeah. But 54 and last. So that means when I go back home, I'll just pick up where I left off. Because we have lecture halls, we have art galleries, music centers, all of that.
Lorenzo, this has been like, I can't even thank you enough for coming on here, man. This has been,
man.
we have to do this again though. You know what I mean? Like when your books come out, when they finally get published, because the company in Maryland, when they get their act straight up here, we'll be able to, promote your book a little bit. What do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that I help people with pure motive, pure intent, and that I help them love themselves and believe in their dreams and aspirations.
Lorenzo,
that's what I want my legacy to be.
This has been fantastic, brother. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And you take care.
I want to say thank you to Lorenzo for coming on the show and just having a fantastic conversation about life, about spirituality, about love. And I hope that you guys got a lot of great content out of this. I hope that you guys got a lot of, I just hope that you guys stay open-minded, and I hope that this has helped you realize a couple things. I hope this has helped you kind of gain more confidence in areas of your life that you want to explore more of. And there's Buki in the background, and she says the same thing. She's like, get out there and question everything. Get out there and follow your paths, and get out there and be the person that you want to be without any type of remorse, or without any, I don't know, what's the word that I want to say? Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about, boo. Go out there and be yourself without any apologies. That's what I want to say. Remorse. I don't know if that even fits in that category. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. Peace and love, and I will talk to you later.